Good morning, wrestling fans. Today is Tuesday, February 21st, 2023. Lance Brock here to talk some pro wrestling to start your morning. Today's episode of GMWF, I'm going to talk about something real quick that I haven't talked about on any of the podcasts just yet. I'm sure most people have heard the news by now. Started a little Twitter feud or beef, as the young people these days say. Friday, the episode of WWE Friday Night SmackDown that was in Montreal, which MMA reporter Ariel Helwani was a part of SmackDown, and that started a thing between him and AEW's Tony Khan about an interview that Tony Khan did on his podcast quite a while ago, where I guess what I understand about it is that Tony Khan didn't really get too much into details. I guess didn't say as much what Ariel Helwani would have liked him to, or something like that. And then Ariel Helwani said blah blah blah, cried about it, said it was a bad interview and stuff. He might have even said it was the worst interview he's done, just being a little crybaby about it. And now, I just want to say that I am definitely not a journalist or not even a part of the wrestling media at all, because nobody in wrestling probably even knows that I exist. But if I'm interviewing somebody, they don't have to, they can talk about whatever they want. Just because, I want them to talk about all the behind the scenes gossips and secrets going on. That doesn't mean they have to. And they can talk about and discuss whatever they want on the podcast. Just because Ariel Helwani wants Tony Khan to get into the dirt and talk about the behind the scenes stuff of AEW, what does he owe him? He doesn't have to get in all the juicy gossip just because Ariel Helwani wants it on his podcast. And again, like I said, I am definitely not a journalist or wrestling media or any kind of media. I just record and talk about pro wrestling. That's it. I have had interviews before. It's been quite a while, and like I said, whoever I'm interviewing wants to talk about, they can talk about. They don't owe me anything, especially not me, since I'm nobody, but they have the right to choose what they want to or what they don't want to talk about. But there was one thing that I did not like about what Tony Khan said, is that he said something about Ariel Helwani. He said, "You're just as much of a journalist as Tony Schiavone." And that's the one part of what Tony said, or Tony Khan, pronouns pal, that I did not care for, that he said, kind of making fun of Tony Schiavone. I'm not sure why he put that line in his tweet. And then Helwani replied about that, calling Tony Schiavone a legend, which I agree. Tony Schiavone definitely a legend in the pro wrestling business, in my opinion anyway. But no, I'm not saying I listen or read all of Ariel Helwani's stuff, because he is mainly in that MMA stuff. But every once in a while, he does cover a little bit of pro wrestling, and he has been a part of pro wrestling, has done interviews with John Pollock, and I have listened to them when he's been on post. But other than that, I really don't follow him that much. And also, he was on the Elimination Chamber, and Michael Cole making a remark about him being I don't remember what he said actually, about being a great journalist or something, and asking the tough questions even if they want to answer them or not. So the whole thing has just kind of turned into a mess, and no surprise that, I mean, of course I'm siding more with the more of a pro wrestling guy in this one, but I don't know, I think Ariel Helwani just took it a little too far, complaining and whining about just because he didn't like that Tony Khan didn't say certain things or talk about certain things in the interview. But who knows, a lot of people might disagree with me about that and side with Ariel Helwani. I've talked about on the podcast before that I am a fan of Tony Khan. I know he has a lot of critics, but I'm definitely a fan of him. And speaking of interviews, it'll probably never happen, I'm sure, but I would love it if Tony Khan would come on here on an episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. That would be great. But like I said, I'm sure he never would. If for some reason he's listening, or which I doubt. Like I said, he's probably never heard of me. But I would love to have him on. And I wouldn't get upset just because he didn't talk about certain things. Speaking of Tony Khan, tomorrow night, teasing a big announcement for Dynamite. There's been some speculation about it maybe being a streaming deal. Don't know that for sure, but have to tune in to Dynamite tomorrow to find out what that is exactly. I hope it is a streaming deal, and I hope they, instead of coming out with their own streaming app or whatever, I have HBO Max, so I'm hoping maybe they'll do a similar deal with WWE and Peacock, where they, even if they don't have the live pay-per-views on there like WWE does with Peacock, maybe still have some like the video library of the pay-per-views, the past pay-per-views, all the Dynamites, Rampages, maybe put the episodes of Dark on there, other things like that. They could put on HBO Max as a part of the AEW thing. So that's all for this episode of 360 Wrestling, or 360 Good Morning Wrestling Fans. Sometimes I get confused with which podcast I'm doing, and sometimes I even jumble my words together, like I'm sure if you listen, you hear that quite a bit. So thank you for tuning in to 360 Wrestling Fans right here on Spreaker, or wherever you listen to. Hope everyone has a really good Tuesday today. Hope everyone enjoys NXT tonight. Until next time, keep watching pro wrestling.